Today on Country Squire Radio, we're talking pipe smoking archetypes, the one that you have requested, nay, demanded, the wizard. Also, we have got a pipe question of the week about aging Virginia tobaccos, quick fire questions, listener feedback, all of this happening right now, including a bit of a love shout out. What? It's all happening today on Country Squire Radio. Welcome to Country Squire Radio. I'm Beau.
And I'm John David.
JD.
Hey, Beau. Good morning, man. Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is the problem. This
So we hadn't gotten used to this.
Exactly. Now that we're straight up at noon. I mean, ideally, if we're starting on time,
that's right.
That's what's going on.
That's
and
right.
so we don't know whether or not to. What do you wish somebody? A good noon? That would make sense.
A good day.
Yeah.
That's like a parting thing. But yeah, no, it's good. It's afternoon. Yeah, unless it's on noon, which we just were. Anyway, so it's afternoon. Yeah, man. Good afternoon, Beau.
Good afternoon to you as well. That's right. It's 1 minute after the hours.
That's right.
There you go.
That is right.
Well, man, how are things up at the shop?
Good. Yeah, doing great. It's been just a busy season, kind of getting into that pipe smoking weather now. It's a few cool nights here in central Mississippi, and so things are it's optimal time for pipe smoking. The mosquitoes are starting to pretend like they're going away occasionally, and those crisp nights where maybe your glass of favorite glass of whiskey and your favorite English blends start coming out in those bigger bold pipes, and I don't know, it's been nice seeing a lot of our folks that we don't really see until this time of year. They're starting to trickle back in.
Yeah, man. Look, this is
been fun.
This is pipe smoking weather, and you know what it is. We're getting closer to the fall festivals and Halloweens and things out there. Me and the missus this Christmas or this Halloween rather, we are going dressed up. We're going very Pokemon inspired. I'm dressed up as Ash, and she's dressed up as Misty from Pokemon.
Those are two Pokemon.
These are people from the Pokemon game and show.
Okay.
And so what I did though, I'm pretty proud of this. I took a Pikachu, like a stuffed Pikachu that I won at the fair.
I know what that one is.
Yeah, 2 years ago, and I mounted it to a Nintendo Switch hat that I actually got from Nintendo back when I was at South by last year.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I've got kind of a red hat with the Pokemon with Pikachu mounted on top of it, and I wear it, and it like rides around on me. And so we went in our costumes to our kids' fall festival at their school. And man, I was a big hit because all the kids were like, "It's Pikachu!"
So they knew exactly what that was.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
Like
that's still really
Pokemon
relevant.
It's a thing.
Okay.
And actually, with the new
Man,
Pokemon Go games, it's even bigger now.
Like I said, when you got kids, you start realizing like, oh, you get plugged back into what's popular in their age group.
Oh,
right?
big time.
And so you kind of are reliving youth through them, and so that's. And maybe someday if we have teenagers or something, we'll be like, oh, that's what the kids are smoking these days. Yeah. Oh, they're going back to Virginia Periques.
Right.
Well, I have to pick that up so I can be hip like my son.
You know the wild thing, like the kids, like right now, kids are super into Ninja Turtles. Like that was our thing back in the 90s, and yet they're super into it. What about you? Are you dressing up as anything for Halloween?
No, just a starving tobacconist, I think.
Okay.
No,
you're practicing that look now.
I am.
Yeah.
I have got my hair down. Plenty of room for the rats to nest in the old John David Cole Maine. But don't really have a lot of Halloween plans. But of course, the next day after Halloween is Jackson Pipe Night. And so it's on All Saints Day, as it were, or is that the same as Reformation Day, or is Reformation Day the same day as Halloween?
So Reformation Day,
I always forget. We live in the South. Beau and I are both kind of these Christian communities. A lot of times, instead of celebrating Halloween, you'll go to these church parties and people dress up like John the Baptist.
Right.
It's kind of creepy. Yeah, I don't know.
So Halloween is Hallows Eve. The idea is that it was the day before kind of that All Saints Day, All Hallows Day.
Right. I just can't remember which day Reformation Day
falls
on.
So that's the thing. So our boy,
Dr.
Luther,
right,
of the Martin variety,
right,
he nailed the theses on the door because he knew that everybody would be at the church for that hallowed day.
Oh, I didn't. I never really made that connection.
It's literally the day after Halloween.
Okay, well,
would be Reformation.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So we're having our Reformation Day edition, Jackson Pipe Night this year, and that'll be on November 1st, which we're really excited about. But I guess I can go and talk about that.
Yeah, please do.
Weaseled it in there.
It worked really well.
Next Thursday night, that's November 1st. From 7 to 9 p.m. at the Country Squire. We'll be doing live music, lots of cold beer. There will be a Savinelli and Rossi and Cornell and Deal trunk show, which we're really excited about. Our friend Bill Haggerty from Law DC will be here selling some of our favorite pipes. And then of course the slow smoke competition, which we're all excited about. $20 to enter. You can get those tickets at the countrysquireonline.com. Click on accessories and sift through there. You'll find them. But really excited. The slow smoke competition is always a big hit, and we think you'll have a lot of fun with that. So big thanks to our sponsors, of course, Laudisi, Savinelli, Rossi, GLPs, and Cornell and Deal, as well as folks like Deep South Pops, locally here in Jackson, Cups Coffee House, and a few other local friends. So anyway, we're thrilled about that.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. No, a lot of y'all are planning on coming into town for it. It should be a blast. I want to try to recalibrate slowly. I've been trying to do this over the last couple of weeks. The expectations for my performance. I'm not going to be good. Like, I've been practicing, and you can enjoy your pipe and not really think about how many times you're relighting until you start thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's once you're like, okay, no, I've got to compete now. Like this, I have to actually time this. And I've realized, shoot, I just relight my pipe all the time. It almost becomes something of a crutch.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, I've been trying to get better. I was actually practicing last night, and I've been improving, but it's going to be, it may be a glorious fail. And I just want to put that out there.
It is hard to get back into, I've been thinking as I prep for pipe night, and just kind of helping folks get ready, answering questions and stuff. Our friend Russ Hicks, who he's like the pipe whisperer. Can we just start calling him that? I don't think we've referred to anyone that way, but the pipe whisperer, Russ Hicks, he has opinions on this, right? Like, well, with your pipe, you don't really, the slow smoke competitions are fun and all that kind of stuff, but there's something to be said about, letting your pipe burn so coolly and so slowly that occasionally you do have to relight it very, very little, but you do have to relight occasionally. And the whole goal for him, he's talked about before, is smoking it so slowly and so coolly that all you're getting are flavors and not heat.
Oh, that's good.
And so when you're used to smoking your pipe that way, where you're just sipping it to the extreme, where your whole focus is on the flavor of the tobacco, it kind of goes against the idea of keeping your pipe lit, right? And so you have to recalibrate your rhythms and your cadence to getting this right. So anyway, it's you have to readjust.
I mean, it is funny.
It's good stuff.
It is almost like you're taking something like going for a stroll or going for like a walk or something like that, and then like comparing it to going for a marathon, which are like there's two different mindsets for what you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm more of a hiker, but I'm not, and less of a jogger from that standpoint. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what how it all goes out, and we will also be live streaming that. I'll be live streaming that from my phone, as I've done in Long Smoke's past. So y'all will be able to watch me fail gloriously online. Yeah. Now, also, folks will be able to tune in online next week, where we will be doing our Halloween special. Now, in years past, we have talked about treacherous pipes. We've talked about treacherous pipe smokers, and we've done treacherous tobaccos. And yes, this year we are returning back to treacherous tobaccos. So we want to hear your thoughts. When you think of a Halloween tobacco or a scary tobacco, a treacherous tobacco, something of that nature, what comes to mind? Share us your thoughts, your stories. We'll be sharing some of those next week as we do our Halloween episodes. Will there be costumes involved? That's always the question. All right. It's going to be a blast, and we can't wait to see what you guys have to share on the show. Speaking of what you guys have to share, Thanksgiving will soon be upon us after Halloween. And along with that, we are doing the Thanksgiving Custom Cob Competition. Now, all the details for this are on Facebook. If this is your first time listening to Country Squire Radio, we now, as of this year, have an annual Custom Cob Competition.
That's right.
Yep. Take a Missouri Meerschaum pipe and actually do whatever you want with it in kind of a Thanksgiving theme. You can send it into the Country Squire. They will be judged. There will be a winner.
We're not good at many things, but we're good at judgment.
Very, very good at judgments. Yes. But they will be judged, and a winner will be selected. All the pipes sent in will be raffled off for charity for the Ronald McDonald House. And it's a great cause, a lot of fun, and a chance to showcase some of the creativity that exists within the community out there. So y'all help us out, get involved. Learn more about that on the Facebook page at facebook.com/Country Squire Radio. All right, man, we've got, I feel like we need like some sort of like Dunna or something of that nature. That one, man. Okay. We got a new member joining the Country Squire Radio International Pipe Club. Now, every single new member we get, man, it's a huge honor. We're so excited to see the names that come through, and especially when we recognize some names as folks that we've interacted with or sent in stuff to the show before, it's always great. It's always like, yes, this is awesome, great, welcome to the club, welcome to the various group, and then also thank you so much for supporting us. This week we had a new member join us that I got to tell you, I actually was like, oh man, yes. Like I was like, I'm always like that, but there's just like this added benefit.
But there's a sense of validation that comes with this particular new member.
Yeah, getting this particular member was just kind of like, dude, if this dude's signing on to the Country Squire Radio International Pipe Club, we just got legit in a whole new level. like basically he's risen the class and the knowledge of the entire the average. It's that curb type deal.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining the Squire member, I probably should mispronounce his name, but I'm not going to. Douglas Owen.
Yeah, Doug is, of course, just been a longtime listener of Country Squire Radio and a professional tobacconist in his own right for longer than Beau and I have been on this planet, which is terrifying. But Doug, just a great friend from the Pacific Northwest and has such a incredible grasp of both our industry and tobaccos themselves, pipe brands and history. And gosh, every time he contributes to the show, a lot of times we get his feedback and just great feedback that, maybe filling in gaps where we lack some knowledge or maybe, adding on to some things that we've said that he said, that and this and this and things that maybe we're unaware of because we just haven't been in the industry as long. And so, man, Doug, we are so thankful for you and obviously really appreciative that you joined the Country Squire International Pipe Club.
Absolutely. And hey, if you want to help support the show and join the club, learn more at patreon.com/Country Squire Radio. Welcome to the club, Doug. We're very honored to have you. All right, man. Okay. Today, this episode,
this afternoon,
wherever you may be listening and whenever that may be the case, this episode, we are reopening the series on pipe culture.
Yeah.
Now, I always like to start off these episodes by kind of giving a little bit of history as to where the series came from. Way back in the earliest days of Country Squire Radio, we kind of, looked at various topics to talk about. We're like, all right, we're doing a weekly pipe tobacco podcast that tends to run from 30 minutes to an hour. And we need to be able to provide some really engaging, good content for folks. So where does that make sense? Like what content is out there to be able to really add value to the conversation as opposed to just talk about it? And one of the things that we were acutely aware of at that same time is the importance of the way that the Tolkien films, the Lord of the Rings books, obviously, but the way that Peter Jackson took the Tolkien stories and turned them into movies.
Yeah, sure.
How much that had such a pop cultural impact on the pipe and how many people were kind of exposed to pipes from that
and brought into the pipe community.
Exactly.
Let's be honest about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So some of them, were in and out pretty quickly, but a lot of those folks have stayed and have really sunk their teeth into it.
But that's the thing, like it exposed so many people. And so at the time that we were starting the show, the movies, the Hobbit films, which were, you might have opinions on them, but one way or the other, they were not as universally well received as Lord of the Rings films, but those films were starting to kind of die down. And so we saw that we were about to enter into this era where the pipe was about to be kind of less in vogue, if you will. It was going to be less pipe culture or less pop culture and kind of be more into pipe culture. And so the thought was like, well, what is pipe culture? And can that be a series? And so while that was the origins of it, it really kind of became this almost sociological study, a very unscientific sociological study that we kind of put together with the listeners from the earliest days. We were like, what is pipe culture? What are the things that connect us? What are the things that unify us? Yes, we all come from different backgrounds. Yes, we all come from different places. Yes, there are many things that differentiate us, but there's also kind of a lot of shared experiences. And isn't that interesting? And what are those shared experiences?
Yeah.
And how do they intertwine with the way that we enjoyed our pipe and what that might say about us, what that might not say about us. And so that was kind of where the pipe culture discussion went. Now, we've talked about various aspects of pipe culture. And most recently, we've been doing kind of I hate to say study, but let's just say study of kind of pipe smoking archetypes. This was an idea that was actually risen from a listener. And we went through and we went out to all of y'all and we're like, hey, what are the pipe smoking archetypes? And from those, I gathered up these various groups, right? You had the professor, you had the philosopher, the grandfather, the father, the sailor, the soldier, the aristocrat, the farmer, all of these various archetypes that we've discussed on the show. But there was one archetype to rule them all. There was one specific archetype that I intentionally and statedly left out of the group because I thought, foolishly at the time, that this archetype didn't make sense to actually do an in-depth study of, because I thought there'd be like one or two people that would actually qualify for this, and there wouldn't really be much to discuss. I was wrong, because y'all hit me with some really strong feedback saying, how could you leave this particular archetype out? And of course, to bring it all the way full circle back to the Lord of the Rings inspiration for pipe culture in general, we are today talking about the pipe culture archetype, the pipe smoking archetype of the wizard.
The wizard, yeah. It's funny because, as we had gone through these archetypes and we took so much time to, study them and, flesh out some of these different details and where they kind of fit into the culture. The wizard was the one that we thought, okay, if we ever did roll this one out, that would be the one that we'd get raked over the coals for, right?
Well, I mean, I felt like you feel about barbecue.
No, that's right.
What is there to actually
that's
talk
ridiculous.
About here?
What are we going to do? We're just saying this because it's so obvious, but we have so many listeners that basically once we kind of put this out there, stuck our toe in the water, the reaction was, what took you so long?
Oh, big time.
And I think there's something to that.
So, all right, I do want to mention this too. We're about to dive in. We put the call out, and we've gotten so many great, very deep thoughts from a lot of y'all, and some things that this is going to go in directions I did not expect, and I'm really excited to dive into it. But I have to make mention of this. All right, because it is cold outside, and because it is pipe smoking weather, it's also stew weather, like the time of year where you make stews and like big meals.
Stew weather.
You don't talk about that, right?
Yeah, comfort food.
Yeah,
hot comfort food.
Man, so I've been like, man, I made oxtail stew over the weekend and everything.
The heck is that?
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
It's delicious, like super, super tasty meat. And so I had, as I'm doing this, I have Lord of the Rings on the background because it's kind of Hobbitly, man. You're cooking food. You're gonna be smoking your pipe later. Like it's a good time.
The old oxtail stew.
Man, it's good. But see, this is the thing. I had Lord of the Rings on in the background, the Fellowship of the Ring specifically. Yeah. And it comes to the scene where Frodo is laying into bed at Rivendell. He just arrived at Rivendell, and Gandalf is telling him, he's kind of bringing him back awake, and he says, "It's October the 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning. If you want to know." And I thought, oh, you know what? It actually almost is October the 24th. And that's when I realized our Wizard episode is coming out on October 24th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it come out at 10 o'clock in the morning?
It does now.
This time it will. Yeah.
This time it definitely will.
Yeah. As we're recording, it's October 22nd. But of course we do this on Wednesday. We put it on iTunes and whatnot. So yeah, that's good.
Anyway, I just thought that was kind of a neat coincidence. I wanted to make mention of it.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're talking Wizards. And I think this is a really good one to kind of jump off in. So Gentleman's Corner on Twitter, he tweeted and he said, honestly, this archetype is what got me into pipe smoking. The wise old man with his pipe. Little magic never hurt. From Gandalf to Merlin, this archetype has been the cornerstone of fiction, something all old men should aspire to if possible.
Yeah, we talked about folks that kind of, because of the wizard archetype and all the stuff that came along with it, they took their quick dive into the pipe world and then went along their way after that. But obviously, Gentleman's Corner is one of the many persons that stuck around, and that's what we've seen. We've seen it so many times, and so I do think this is a really valid thing to mention.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. Is it even possible, honestly, to draw a picture of a traditional wizard
without a pipe?
Without a pipe.
Right.
I mean, it's there, and like you said, it is such a touch point that really kind of exposed people to pipe smoking, that sort of thing, and got them to be like, "Ooh, I want to do that. Like, I want to be, I want to be a wizard. That sounds awesome." Nick Blackwell on Facebook writes in. He says, "The wizard represents the pipe smoker with knowledge. All knowledge is powerful, but the aspect that distinguishes the wizard from, say, the professor is that the wizard's knowledge is arcane. His power and role in the group is marked by his understanding of niche culture, trivia, and many different systems of fact. Whereas the professor is astute in single discipline, the wizard is a jack of all trades and knows a little bit about almost all subjects. The wizard is that person in the pipe group who bounces from topic to topic in general discussion and seems to know what they are saying, regardless of who they are talking to or what they are talking about. I love the way that this pulls that kind of fantastic concept into like the real.
Yeah, no, you're right. I was about to say, I think I know a few wizards that hang out at the Country Squire. if this is kind of the definition thereof, yeah, I understand that. I think there's always there's no event or thing that comes up that wizards don't have some kind of input on that leads to real expertise. I don't know. Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
I mean, you think about the wizard as a kind of a character in generally movies or books or that sort of thing. To me, they're very much the expositional character, right? Like they're always the one that's like, here's the backstory for this, rock over here. Like there's always kind of like all this stuff like, oh, that's so-and-so, the matriarch of such and such. Like it's like, wait, how do you even know this, dude? Because you're the wizard.
Well, you're just the wizard. Yeah. And it allows, it brings this element of mystery and unknown into the story that, no other character can really introduce.
Yeah. Which also kind of makes it interesting when you see a character like, say, Gandalf, who we associate as kind of this jack of all trades type of character. But in, Fellowship of the Ring, they're going through the Mines of Moria, and he gets lost, and he's just sitting there, and he looks at all three doors. He was like, I have no idea where we are. And he just sits down, smokes his pipe, and just looks at the doors. And so it's just so bizarre because you think about, this is the dude that knows everything, and yet he gets lost. So what does he do? Sits down, smokes his pipe.
No, that's right.
Thinks about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Makes me happy. What did Patrick Barrett say?
He's our dear friend Patrick. Yeah, he says, the wizard or sage, she is the wise counselor, the knower of things arcane and supernatural, but also seen as a schemer and a manipulator of men, usually for higher or unknown purposes. When not running about for great and strange reasons, we often picture the wizard silent and brooding in some dank tower or hazy tavern. he may have meant dark tower. I don't know, but dank tower works. Dank tower works too.
It could work.
Smoking the pipe and watching people, or just contemplating his next move. The wizard is also helpful. Above everything else, the wizard is the person whose wisdom is seen in action. This can be in the form of guiding the group, either directly or indirectly, or by contributing their know-how in a dire situation. So I think a good kind of consolidation of what a wizard is and what function they play, kind of in the storyline there. Yeah, makes good sense.
It's interesting because at first it almost makes the wizard sound like something of a bit of a sociopath, right? Like utilizing other people.
Yeah, it's like borderline personality disorder. Yeah, he's super manipulative. It's right. Like, but in a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, you read any type of fiction that's got a real high fantasy kind of thing, and the wizard is kind of working in the background for mysterious reasons. A lot of times it's they'll interject things you don't even want them to do, but later on in the book or story, it makes sense why they would do something like that. And they have this kind of foreknowledge that's terrible and yet really important for the outcome. So yeah, I don't know.
Almost kind of like this master chess player. I mean, like, okay, so this is not necessarily traditional wizard, but obviously these characters are inspired by wizards. Like if you think about like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda, and I guess I'm thinking specifically Obi-Wan, versus somebody like Palpatine, the Emperor. Like these are essentially two archetypical wizards, right? Like they've got magic, and they are manipulating the people, manipulating our heroes and kind of against each other. So you have Palpatine behind Vader, you've got Obi-Wan behind Luke, and ultimately they have kind of their end game, but they're working through other folks. So there you go.
That's good.
But I guess what really separates theoretically the wizard from, say, like a warlock, right?
Yeah.
A warlock would be kind of the same thing, but evil, is the fact that the wizard does so for the good of the heroes and theoretically mankind, whereas the warlock does it for the good of himself.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I've never really thought about that. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I've never really studied or thought about the whole concept of the warlock. It's probably because the wizard is a pipe smoker and the warlock is probably more of the dank variety.
Well, let me ask you this. That is true. I mean, it's difficult to picture like an evil, like Saruman wasn't, smoking a pipe or anything. In fact, actually,
I think, didn't he counsel Gandalf against it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you knew he was evil.
I think so.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go.
Yeah.
Also, we have Andrew Fitzer, who says on Facebook, he says, I believe the archetype of pipe smoking wizard is pretty accurate. They are normally depicted smoking the pipe while contemplating a big picture, coming up with the perfect solution to the vexing problem, meditating on their mystical connection to the universe and primordial forces that they can command.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that, you're hearing like kind of this consistent thing, right? Like extreme power, ability to manipulate, ability to kind of command and control. But what keeps them, I mean, I'm kind of pulling from this. What I'm seeing like kind of keeps them from being that warlock kind of power hungry person is that they do take that moment to contemplate. Is that they do take the pipe at like
there's a thoughtfulness about
exactly.
it, right? Yeah, that is introduced because maybe perhaps the pipe, and if they didn't have that, it'd be they'd have to have some other design in the story, some other element in the story that introduces this pensive thoughtfulness, kind of brooding, like, okay, how are we going to get through this type of deal? And the pipe really functions as that element, as that the introduction of that kind of thoughtfulness, I think. So I think it represents a lot.
All right, so let's talk about some pipe smoking wizards. Broke Cracker on Reddit says
Broke Cracker.
That's his username on Reddit.
Yeah.
He says when I think of the wizard, I think of the elder gatekeepers of the arcane secret knowledge, from fictional Merlin to actual Aleister Crowley, occultist and pipe smoker. They're the portal to the unknown. The pipe lends itself to the age and status of these individuals.
Yeah.
As young wizards are a newer fictional phenomenon, no offense to Harry Potter, a pipe also requires a special knowledge and tools. All of that fits the wizard archetype of totems and knowledge. As a bonus, tobacco blending is kind of like alchemy, which fits perfectly into wizardry.
I'm reading text from Brian Levine. He just will not leave us alone.
Brian, seriously,
it's all.
Mike, cut that out. I don't want to reward Brian for throwing John David off on the podcast. Brian, you're making Mike do work right now.
No, it's good.
You're making Mike do work.
It's good. He says, I thought pipe culture was that stuff that grows in dirty old pipes, except he didn't say stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we were talking about Broke Cracker on what he was saying in terms of Gatekeepers of Arcane, talked about Merlin and Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that character.
Yeah.
Can you enlighten me?
I honestly am not. No. So what he's saying is Aleister Crowley was not necessarily fictional, but actually a historic individual.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says a occultist and also a pipe smoker.
Okay.
So interesting stuff. Now also Broke makes mention of Harry Potter, which I feel like we saw a lot of feedback like, oh, I want to talk about Harry Potter, but like there's not really a lot of pipe smoking in Harry Potter, if at all ever. And I mean, part of that I would imagine is that, it was a more modern retelling of wizards.
I mean, you've got to think about the environment, that was written in and where it was written too. I mean, modern, Scotland is a extremely, not smoke friendly place, I guess,
right.
From a political standpoint. And so, and wanting to not lead little kids astray and things of that nature, where, back when Tolkien was writing and Lewis and these guys, they may not have have cared quite as much. So.
Yeah. Don't the kids in that book, like, can't they start like the drinking age in Harry Potter's like 12 or something like that?
So, yeah, I didn't read them, but it seems like,
come on, Scotland.
Yeah.
Seriously,
you played the game, man.
You played yourself. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, so Harry Potter course mentioned, but we can't really go into there. Although a lot of folks said, Dumbledore, he was
he probably he's got this stuff in his desk.
Yeah. Like the kid's like, oh, here comes the kid. Let me like, put it out.
Magically produces some Esoterica Margate or something. Yeah.
Oh man, that would be amazing. They'd give it some crazy name, of course. Tuesday 8 makes mention of course Gandalf. What did Tuesday say?
Yeah, this is on Reddit. He says, obviously Gandalf, probably the source of the archetype for most, if not the whole basis for the image. I always love that Gandalf picked up the art from hobbits, but like everything else he has set his mind to, he perfected the art. See Concerning Pipeweed from the prologue. I love the scene in Moria where Gandalf is unsure of the way and says, I know what's wrong with me. I haven't had a smoke. The pipe really adds to Gandalf as a wise and contemplative figure, but also shows his humility in picking up the art from hobbits.
Isn't that cool?
Of course, it kind of mentioned what you're talking about earlier in Moria. That's interesting. I've never really thought about Gandalf picking that up from from hobbits, but that's true, and almost the least of of human or of created kind or whatever. You got these humble hobbits, with their hairy feet and shortness and things that we can relate to, and so Gandalf is taking something from them that really does bring value and encourages wisdom, and it's become a part of his rhythm, and the reason why he's so successful as in guiding events towards their ultimate good end.
Yeah, man. All right, so it's interesting. I'm sure you've probably seen this image, and I'm sure most of our listeners have, because you may have missed it when watching the movie. But for a portion of the film, not always, but for the portion of the film, he would actually carry his pipe inside his staff.
Yeah, and I think you can actually, if you want to spend like $4,000, you can actually buy that staff somewhere online, like a replica of it
with the pipe and everything,
and the pipe's like embedded down in the top of it. Yeah.
How much did you say it was?
Way too much. Like, yeah, I got to sell some more pipe tobacco. Yeah, to even think about it.
I actually know somebody from Weta. Do you remember? All right, so this is kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
Back in the day, this is a couple years ago, we wanted to get Weta on the show. We reached out to them because we wanted to kind of get them on to talk about. It was I think after the last Hobbit film, and we wanted to get whoever worked on the pipes of that film, because I think if you look at the way that every single pipe was carved, was specific to that character, like there's so much being communicated on every single set piece. I mean, what is amazing and what they're able to accomplish in those movies. But I really wanted to kind of do a deep dive. And so we reached out to Weta, and Weta actually, apparently for the pipe carving, they actually outsourced that to someone else. And so I was like, well, can we have that information? They wouldn't give it to us, unfortunately. But actually now
we want to know who did that.
I actually know through I've been playing Sea of Thieves, the pirate game.
Yeah.
Actually, I play with a guy from Weta, so I need to work that connection.
Oh, yeah, I'd work on that.
Yeah, I'll see if he can hook us up.
No, that'd be good.
But I love that, man. I always love the fact that the functionality of his staff and the fact that his pipe is always at the ready
is a part of that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
And I mean, think about it, because his staff is a source of light. It's a source of illumination. We see that in Moria. It's also a weapon. It's also something that he uses when he's fighting, not so much in a physical way, although we do, I think, see him actually bash some orcs and goblins in the face.
But it's a part of, not just a representation, but a part of his power.
It's
right?
an extension of his
power source or something. I don't know. And his pipe, if it's going to be an intimate part of that, what does that say?
Well, it's almost like I wouldn't say it's the source, but it's where he kind of fuels his, like it's how he channels it, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so to have the pipe as literally an integral part of the staff, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's saying something. What? I don't know. But it sounds it's pretty cool. Man, all right. So this is interesting. Taco Tasker on Reddit took the concept of what we generally see as wizards and actually presented something that kind of flips the script a little bit. What did Taco have to say?
Taco Tasker, I love these names. He said, the general trope is that of the old and wise authority figure mulling things over in his mind while puffing away, not dissimilar to your previous philosopher, professor archetype. One instance I want to mention in contrast is the Wizards of Unseen University in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. In this series, I'm not familiar with this. I need to check this out. In this series, the wizards are basically cloistered in a wizard university and really have minimal contact with the outside world, except for sneaking out at night and getting drunk at a nearby tavern. They're essentially naive characters, so wrapped up in themselves and in their own little world that they are oblivious to everything else around them, to the point of absurdity. Throughout the series, most wizards smoke pipes or cigarettes, but not as a prop in the general sense of lending a scholarly air of authority. It is usually mentioned as a crutch or an inconvenience. They need to get a nicotine fix or are fidgeting with the pipe cigarette as a nervous reaction or tendency, not to relax or act wizardly. The tobacco smoking is something that is a distraction in this sense. Terry Pratchett is turning everything on its head. The wizards are often clueless idiots, which is often the opposite of how wizards are portrayed. And the pipe smoking is not portrayed as a glamorous activity, but as a cumbersome yet expected choice of habit made by characters who pretty much always make bad choices. So it sounds like in this particular manifestation of the wizard, he's going to turn the entire thing, like you said, on its head. The whole goal here is to be absurd compared to the modern or the normal wizard archetype, and that's bumbling, foolish, silly, and all these kind of things. And I guess he uses the pipe in that as well. And he has the right to do that, although that's kind of ridiculous.
Well, but it is interesting how it does kind of it relies on the understanding of what that traditional wizard is. Like, you couldn't flip it on its head; it wouldn't be there if it wasn't a thing. You know what I mean?
No, it has to be a thing, right, for him to use it in this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's an odd validation in the twist. Speaking actually of flipping the script and kind of, what we generally see versus what we don't normally see. So, we mentioned before about Saruman and how, he didn't smoke a pipe.
Yeah.
Actually, Chase corrects us here live. Saruman did in fact smoke a pipe. It's just something that is not very widely known. And actually, as soon as I saw his tweet, it reminded me that we actually did a feature on Saruman on one of our former, I want to say, Halloween episodes.
Like pipe smoking villains?
Yeah, as a pipe smoking villain.
Yeah.
I think he might have been our second ever Halloween episode.
Interesting. Okay.
Where we actually talked about it. And the thing is, it's very subtle. He chastises Gandalf for smoking a pipe and, your love for the halfling leaf and all that kind of stuff. But as you recall, at the end of Two Towers, or at the beginning of Two Towers, well, or maybe is it
somewhere in
there after the trees have like come in and destroyed him and everything else, and they're all sitting down enjoying the spoils of war, they go into his cellar, and what do they find? Tons of pipe weed.
That's
from the
right.
Shire.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that.
So dude had a whole cellar.
That's right. And the real secretive effort to conceal that. Yeah.
So no offense to my Baptist brothers, but he was like a Baptist. He's like, I'm sitting back and I'm judging you, Gandalf, but like he's got a whole cellar of it. He got a whole cellar
of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Saruman is like tweeting into the show, "Hey, check out my cellar, but don't use my real name." Like that's Saruman.
That's hilarious.
I'm sorry, Baptist. But hey, I mean, like, it's there. It's there.
That's really funny.
All right. So overall, here's the question: is the wizard an archetype? Well, I think we've seen a lot of feedback from this episode that there's a lot of folks that believe this. However, we did I kind of took that question, and of all the feedback that we got, there's kind of the yes and the no. So Relio Delio over on Twitter says, I'm not sure if I think the pipe smoking archetype when I think of the wizard, but there seems to be a trait of wisdom, helpfulness, and thoughtfulness in characters like Gandalf and Merlin, seeing the best in and seeking the best of others. So you might not think of that archetype, but at the same time, the threads are there.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Mango Times on Twitter, who not only says yes, but actually ups the ante.
Yeah.
What did the Mango Times have
Mango
to say?
Times says, easily in the top 3 archetypes with grandfather and professor. I tend to agree with that. Behind all 3 is the idea of bestowing wisdom. They share knowledge of prior ages that they share with us on our current path. Grandfather because he lived it, professor because he studied it, wizard because he transcends it. All 3 reach down or back and share with their disciple.
Man.
Well said. Well said. I think there is an element of all that there.
The disciple aspect of this too, one of the things that we've seen historically from all of these archetypes is that generally they are somebody who is going to have an understudy. There is an aspect of legacy to almost every single one of these archetypes. There's an aspect of legacy to everything. But I mean, like, you can see that. And what we see in kind of the pipe community as well is if you don't have that wizard in your life, if you don't have kind of that person to guide you along the path in your heroic pipe journey, if you will, it's going to be rough. Like you almost need that. There's a reason why the wizard is a critical component of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. There's a reason why that's so important. Like, that figure has to be there to help guide the hero. Otherwise, the hero is just going to stay in the same place and not move forward. There needs to be somebody that, to borrow the Mango Times' word, transcends everything else to help guide the hero along. So hopefully, for our pipe smokers out there who are kind of just getting started, you've got that wizard at your local shop or whoever it might be to kind of help show you the ropes. And I'll just close it off with this kind of request from Nathan R. Hale, who says, "With the wizard, I always think of smoke rings. Teach me how."
Smoke rings. I want the ship. I want that shit. How do you blow a smoke ship? Yeah.
That's what you want. That's what you want. Hey, you know what? At some point,
Well done. That was great.
Maybe we need to do a smoke rings episode or something of that nature, and dive into that. But one way or the other, we want to thank everybody who is involved in sending in the comments. We weren't able to get to everybody's, but we got so many. Shout out to the folks at Reddit, the r/pipe tobacco group on Reddit.
Gosh, so many good friends over there.
Honestly, the pipe culture series, it's an excuse for us to kind of reach out into that group. We got so much feedback. I don't think we will ever have a pipe culture episode where we do not include the good folks at r/pipe tobacco on Reddit. So shout out to you guys. If you've never checked out their group, be sure to check out that group on Reddit. On of course, all of y'all who tuned in and helped us out on Twitter and Facebook, y'all are awesome as well. Now I do want to make mention of one other thing before we get to our sponsor.
Yeah.
And I'm blanking on it right now. Why is that happening? Oh, snap. Sorry, Mike. This has never happened to me live. I don't think I've ever went blank on the live show before, but that's okay. So Mike, slash that.
Hope it wasn't important. I'm sure it was.
I'm sure it was. But anyway, all right, we'll scratch that and we'll just go into it. But yeah, man, so many great comments and thoughts that we've gotten from so many various thoughtful people. And if you're a thoughtful person and you like to enjoy your pipe while you're thinking, contemplating whatever your arcane magic and mysteries might be, perhaps you should be doing so on a good quality corncob pipe from the good folks at Missouri Meerschaum.
That's right. That's right. Of course, we love Missouri Meerschaum pipes and talk about them every week. And it's not just because we have to, it's because we really want to.
Oh, we love them,
and we believe in them. Of course, Missouri Meerschaum has its own set of corncob pipes that are featured after the kind of Hobbit Tolkien world, that mysterious interesting place that we all know and love, and it's the Hobbit collection. Now it's a collection that is comprised of the dwarf, the elf, the shire, and the wizard. The wizard being the super long one. One thing about these pipes is they're kind of hard to find, so these are incredibly high quality corncob pipes, and so it takes a little more time to produce these. The materials are very high quality, and so then they're extremely popular, and so when they come out, they're gone very quickly.
Yeah, man.
So take a look for them if you're looking for a corncob pipe from Missouri Meerschaum that simulates that it has kind of a nice length to it, a generous sized bowl, a fun shape. And just something a little out of the ordinary. We recommend highly the Patriot corncob pipe. This is a fun pipe. It's become one of my kind of more favorite shapes over the past couple of years as we've done more and more with Missouri Meerschaum. The Patriot corncob pipe from Missouri Meerschaum is unfiltered with a uniquely shaped bowl, narrow body, and thick rim with a dark stain added. The Patriot has a genuine hardwood insert in the bottom of the bowl, available in either straight or bent. A two-pipe American assortment gift set is available that includes one General and one Patriot pipe. And so this available retails for $12.59, and you can get that on corncobpipe.com, which is Missouri Meerschaum's own store. It comes direct from the source, so you know it's legitimate. And we just really believe in what they're doing. The Patriot pipe is great. A little longer stem, so it's going to cool that smoke down just a little bit more, and a very attractive piece.
So if you got a Patriot pipe, be sure to retweet that out. But I'm gonna double down on this. If you've got a Cobbett pipe, and they are hard to get a hold of, but if you've actually got one, smoke it this week. It can be any of them. It could be the Wizard, could be the Dwarf, could be the Hobbit, whichever one you like. Smoke your Cobbett pipe. Tweet those into us, but also use the hashtag Pipe Smoking Wizard. Use the hashtag Pipe Smoking Wizard. Show us your Cobbett pipe. We can't wait to see those. I think that'll be a lot of fun this week to get those in. It's a great way, by the way, to let the good folks at Missouri Meerschaum know you appreciate them for sponsoring this show. All right, man. We've got a pipe question of the week this week coming in from Eric P. He says, love the podcast. I recently obtained a pound of bulk Virginia tobacco that is 15 years old. Woo. It was stored properly in a large mason jar. I moved the tobacco out of the big jar into several 2-ounce mason jars as quickly as possible. Is that the squash kind? Or
yeah, well, the 2-ouncers are kind of like little jelly jars.
The small jelly jars. I've heard John David give advice before that once the lid has been popped, the time is ticking on the batch of tobacco, and it should be smoked expediently. I know I arrested the
anaerobic fermentation.
Thank you. Anaerobic fermentation. We're dealing with a scientist here. By repackaging this batch. I do not expect any further benefits of aging, but if I wanted to save a couple of these 2-ounce jars for another 10 years, say for kid's 18th birthday, oh, that's cool. What are the chances it will still taste amazing as it does today? In other words, I figure it won't get any better, but how likely is it to get worse? And that is from Eric P.
Yeah, Eric, man, good to hear from you, and good question. So it depends. It depends on, of course, how this was packaged originally. So you've got, a pound of Virginia tobacco. It was stored properly in a mason jar, which means there was aerobic fermentation going on there, and then you moved it into several 2-ounce jars. Once you crack that open. So, if you want this, one thing about Virginia tobaccos is they take on age better than any tobacco out there just because of the high sugar content. It's something magic is happening as those little amoebas do their work inside that tobacco. But the time is something that's really difficult to fight against here. Once they reach their peak, there's, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of good that can come out of it. As a matter of fact, so much age on a tobacco, and again, 15 years is a lot of age. It gets so mellow that there's almost just a wispy smoothness, almost like closer to Cavendish or something that's just real light and airy, but not a ton of flavor. And so there really is that peak that you have to watch out for. If you want the best bet that you've got here, you're not going to get it the flavor, in my opinion, to preserve for that long where it is now. You're just not going to. But I will say, in my experience, the anaerobic fermentation, this means it's void of air, right? It happens slower than aerobic fermentation. And so think about, if you've got a mason jar that has air inside the mason jar, then that is going to experience the effects of aging quicker than something that has been sealed in like a vacuum style tin or something of that nature. What I would recommend, if you really want to do this and you want to go to the extreme of trying to make this tobacco last for another 10 years, where you're trying to maintain it as close as you possibly can to its current state, you're not gonna it's not gonna be a perfect fit. The tobacco is going to taste different when you open it up. It's going to be more and more mellow, and frankly, I think it probably has already peaked. But your best shot at this is vacuum sealing the tobacco. And what I would do, I'd get one of those like old fashioned, like the vacuum sealers. People even put like their sweaters in it for wintertime and stuff, or for food products or whatever. Like you can vacuum seal something in a plastic container, just a little vacuum seal pouch. These are available when you buy the machines and all that kind of stuff. I've got a friend that regularly does this with tobacco when he wants to keep it basically in stasis where it's at. And so that's going to be your best bet if you will vacuum seal the tobacco just in its own little plastic pouch or something of that nature, and then just leave it there for for the next several years. I honestly think that's going to be your best bet to keep as much air as possible away from the tobacco, and that way, as it ages, it's going to age. Obviously, it'll age slower than with the introduction of any air. So anyway, for what it's worth, I'd try that out. I've got one friend. He actually will take individual flakes of tobacco. So let's say it's Orlet Golden Slice or Dunhill Flake or something. And he keeps a bunch of these individual flakes vacuum sealed, either in his car. He'll put some in his wallet or in his briefcase. But these are kind of always fresh, kind of go to individual flakes that he can go to and just rip open whenever he wants to, almost like a little piece of chewing gum or something. And it's always ready. It's always fresh. He can tuck it anywhere. Maybe get you some of this tobacco and do something similar. Just give it a shot. That would be my best guess. Obviously it's all, if you've got enough of this tobacco left, maybe try a few different ways, see if you can, do it that way. But I think overall that's going to be your best bet.
Yeah. All right. Well, great question, Eric. And hey, if you've got a pipe question of the week, be sure to send it in to us, show@countrysquireradio.com. Again, that's show@countrysquireradio.com. Quick fire questions. Ow! All right, man. We got some quick fire questions in from Morton Sandevi. Yes.
You did not just call him Morton Sandevi.
Wait, what did we say we were going to call him? The listener formerly known as
The listener formerly known as Morton Sandevi.
Yes. All right. The listener formerly
it's Mortin Sanbe.
Yeah. And he made
that very clear.
I know.
But we love him, and so we continue to abuse him. Is that how this works?
I don't think it's abuse. I think it's affectionate. It's like people calling you JD and you hate it.
And that's true. That's absolutely true. Yes.
That makes Morton part of the family, man.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It's like, without that kind of loving, ridiculing nickname, it's like, what are you really?
Yeah. I was ridiculed actually recently for
love Martine. Thanks
not
for
having. Yeah. I was ridiculed recently for not having a strong enough Southern accent. And I was like, look, I butcher words like any Southerner does.
Yeah.
I butcher names like any Southerner does.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Yes. Thanks so much for these, Morton. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
Wolf or fox?
Fox. Because you can have them as a pet,
Now you can.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
That's a thing. I think it's kind of ridiculous, actually. But yeah, you can have them as a pet.
I ain't doing it, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, that takes generations and generations to domesticate animals like that.
Yeah.
And I know that what are they, like 80 years into this whole fox training program?
I don't know.
But do you know what I'm talking about? I think they're doing it out in like Russia or something. There's this whole thing where they've been like, I guess breeding foxes and then working to domesticate them, and the ones that are the most like I guess
docile, obedient, whatever,
those are the ones that kind of survive, so to speak, and go on to procreate. And so they've been working out to kind of create this domesticated lineage of fox.
Right.
I mean that's true of like just dogs in general. That's why we have so many dogs, is because they've been
thousands of years. Yeah.
So, but now I'm gonna go wolf, because it's like
okay, great.
TV series, historically correct or entertaining? That's a good question.
Gosh, I'll go with historically correct, but by a hair. I mean, even if it's historically correct, like typically if you're going to make a TV series, it's about something interesting anyway, so it's probably going to be entertaining. But yeah, I mean, get it right.
The problem with not going historically correct is that generally with TV series, movies, that sort of thing, that's the way that most people engage with the subject matter. And so when it's done, when you kind of trade the entertainment for the facts, you get a less educated populace, because people don't read. They're not studying. They're watching TV. They're watching the movies, and that's where we get our understanding of what actually happened. I would say historically correct, but at the same time, history in itself is entertaining. You know what I mean? Like there is you can present history in an entertaining fashion because it is entertaining. But if you want to go pure entertainment, you can still take like nods from history without having to make, like, for example, Game of Thrones. That is basically the War of the Roses with dragons and magic. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can take those direct inspirations and pull it into your fantastic story, but call it Game of Thrones. Don't call it the War of the Rose (parentheses with dragons and magic).
Well put.
All right, coleslaw or potato salad?
My name, I have to go with coleslaw.
That's unfortunate.
It's my birthright.
You're locked in. I understand. Potato salad.
Yeah.
Fisherman or farmer?
Farmer.
Definitely fisherman.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandfather was a farmer. Viking or pirate?
Pirate.
Arr.
We know where you land.
Yeah. Well, my pirate's name though in Sea of Thieves is Jorvik, which is a Viking name.
I was about to say that's No,
it's actually right. When the Vikings sacked the city of York, they renamed it the Kingdom of Jorvik. And so yes, so my pirate is a Viking named inspired pirate. So there you go. But definitely pirate. Man, Morton, thank you so much. Great quickfire questions. And hey, if you want some quickfire questions answered on the show, be sure to send those in show@countrysquireradio.com. All right, man, we have got some great listener feedback in, and we are kind of tight for time, so I'm going to shuffle some of this stuff around.
Yeah.
But we got to kick it off by making mention of somebody in particular. I almost feel like we need like some of that, like romance music in the background or something like that going on right now, because we've got a love connection to address tonight. A shout out to a listener, Brian Fiss. Brian Fiss. Your wife wants to let you know that she loves you, Brian, and that she is insanely gracious and a lovely woman, because Rachel is back in Austin on your anniversary while you're here in Jackson, Mississippi on your pipe pilgrimage.
Big mistake. Big mistake. Although we're thankful.
Byron, brother, we love you, but not as much as she does. So have a fun time when you're here at the Squire. Then get back to Texas.
That's so ridiculous.
Happy anniversary to Byron and Rachel. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's
he left his wife on their anniversary in Austin.
How dare you?
But he's coming to see us.
But look, man,
that's great.
Your wife loves you, and she knows how much you enjoy this show. So she actually wrote into us to let us know she wanted to give you a personal shout out on the show.
That's right,
Byron. Thank you so much for tuning in, for loving the show, for being a super fan, for making your pipe pilgrimage. As we understand it, you'll be maybe at the shop on Wednesday. Email us or tweet us to let you know.
That's right.
Let us know when you'll actually be there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, man. Your wife is incredibly excited for you, but she also wants you to know that you owe her one.
Yeah. Oh, big time. We want you. No, she didn't say that, but we're saying that.
We're saying that for it, right? I mean, obviously that's implied.
Yeah. Like I feel like Rachel's gonna come to our house and key our car. You know, like we took her man.
No, that's right. Yeah. What's that? This country song about the baseball bat and
dug my
windshield
keys,
and all that stuff.
Yeah, that whole thing. Great stuff, man. We also, I tell you what, let's we got some great other listener feedback as well. Yeah, let's dive into some of the
there
live
are
feedback.
A couple of tweets I want to Jay Freedy at Jay Freedy Piper, great point here that I failed to mention. He says, would vacuum sealing tobacco directly in the plastic bags be an issue with flavoring the tobacco? Would you need to place it in glass first and then seal in a bag? Yeah, and so I responded, excellent point. Maybe what you do for short-term storage, if you're saving a flake or two, that's one thing. But yeah, if you're going to keep it for 10 years, we need to protect it from the flavor, taste of whatever plastic they're using. Excellent point. The key here is that it needs to be void of air, but void of air in a way that we're positive it's going to be void of air. So my problem with these vacuum seal tins is that they'll pop open and you don't even know they'll pop open. So let's literally vacuum seal it, but let's do it maybe in a glass jar. You might not even have to put the lid on the glass jar as long as the tobacco is only in contact with clean glass, and then you vacuum seal that as a whole. I think it's an excellent point and something worth considering there. Maybe try it. If you're going to do this for 10 years, maybe set it back and vacuum sealed in a few different container, glass containers, and kind of see how that works. But just to kind of hedge your bets. But Jay Freedy, excellent point.
We also got the chat's been going off on the YouTube channel today as well. So we've got Beardless Gnome Joe says nothing like lunting with Pokemon Go. Lunting, of course, when you smoke your pipe as you're walking along. We also had a lot of discussion going on a little bit earlier about Warcraft. Let's see, Mike Murphy mentions that people have been trying to get pipe smoking into the world of Warcraft, which is, of course, a kind of a fantasy video game.
Is that a thing that they've been trying to get it in there?
Well, he said, but Blizzard hasn't given it though. Like the fans want it, but Blizzard's not going to do it. I still maintain that Sea of Thieves will have pipe smoking. I mean, there's already images in the game of people smoking pipes, so that's a huge step in.
Mike, of course, our good friend at Pipe and Tamper podcast, who we please go check out his podcast. Great product there.
I saw earlier someone. I wish I could see it, but they were saying, what a great way to start the week with pipes and wizards. And yeah, man, like that's a great way to start the week right there. Little wizard talk, little nerd talk, little pipe tobacco. It's good.
Send you on your merry way.
Exactly.
And just know your favorite hobbits in Mississippi are along with you in spirit.
Exactly. Man.
Brian did write in. He says, our friend Brian Levine, he says, a wizard must be over 5'11". And so that, of course, is a not so veiled attempt to make us feel bad about it.
Yeah, look, in the Fellowship of the Pipe, man, we're the hobbits, you're the troll. We get that. That's
fair. Yeah.
You would be the wizard, Brian. We know you're the wizard.
Yeah, but would he be the good wizard though?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
He'd be Saruman when you're like
open about smoking his pipe, so you got to give him that.
That's true. I'd say he's Gandalf. I think he's Gandalf. I mean, I was gonna make an argument for how he was Saruman before Saruman went like full evil, so you didn't quite know where his allegiances lie. Yeah, but now he's Gandalf. No, man.
But Brian's our Gandalf. But like if Gandalf had kind of a
if he's a little bit of a jerk,
like a jerk, maybe had a little bit of a complex where he constantly needed to put people down. There's something deeper in there that maybe another wizard could step in and help him with some past issues that he hasn't overcome yet. I don't know. I think if that's what we mean by Gandalf, then
I can't wait to get Brian on the show with the three of us. We've had him on the show before, but I want all three of us on the show. It's going to be good. That's going to be good.
Fantastic.
All right, man. Great episode tonight. Once again, I want to give a shout out to the folks that were able to send comments in, but we weren't able to read. Again, another shout out to the folks at the Reddit group r/pipe tobacco on Reddit. Great group, great community over there. Always willing to lend in their voices, and a lot of folks, Reddit's an interesting place, and so there's a lot of groups that they don't like you to talk about yourself or anything like that, and we try not to step on any toes or do anything that we're not supposed to on the our pipe tobacco group. But y'all have always been very gracious to us whenever we need that kind of feedback and want to kind of showcase some discussion.
Good friends over there.
Absolutely. And I should mention, this is the first ever time, I should have mentioned that at the top of the show, this is the first ever pipe culture episode where we got no naysayers. Literally everybody, even the
but now we'll get some.
Now we will.
But after the fact.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be different. It'll be different. But yeah, so there you go. Well, man, so we want to really thank everybody for tuning in. Of course, we are broadcasting live here at straight up at noon on Central Time here in Jackson, Mississippi.
1 o'clock Eastern and 10 o'clock Pacific.
Look at you, man. You're on top of it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So, of course, you can tune in at countrysquireradio.com at those times to join us for a live show. You can also follow us on Twitter at The Real Beau York is me.
I'm at John David Cole, or you can get us at the shop at _Country Squire.
And of course, these shows handle is at Squire Radio, but all that contact information and more can be found at countrysquireradio.com. Well, man, this was fun.
I had fun. No, it was good. It was overdue. We finally got to it. And, I think there's some unpacking there that needed to happen, and we got it out.
I've never been more pleased
and we were affirmed, too.
No, big time. I mean, I've never been more pleased to say I was very wrong. Like, there is obviously, this is not just a archetype. This is potentially the archetype. The quintessential archetype. And I was wrong to believe there wasn't content, because, oh my goodness, y'all proved me wrong over and over again. And thank you so much for doing that.
Some people consider it their mission to do it every week. Yeah.
Hey, man, let's go have a day.
See you, brother.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Yeah, we had fun, y'all. It's good to see you, man.
Absolutely.
Big crowd today. We're thrilled to have everyone.
All right. Well, we love you, Brian. But stop texting John David on the show.
At least I got my phone on mute now, so he can't call me, right?
Because
that has happened.
But you're still over there reading it.
I am. I just need to
stop
ignore
reading
it.
Brian's text.
I know, right? Stop it.
All right, bye, guys.